This is a video that shows you some hints and guidance on how to do my Year 11 Homework 1 for Maths. If we move on to the first question, expanding double brackets, part A of this question, don't forget when you're expanding double brackets, there are 4 things you need to do. Multiply there, then multiply there, there, and then finally multiply there. That should give you 4 terms that you simplify to give a 3-term expression as your final answer. Part B, you're going to work the other way around and you're going to factorise into double brackets. The most important part of this is to look out for that minus sign there. That tells you that you have a plus in one bracket and a minus in the other. I'll leave the rest up to you. And then the final part of this question, which is worth 3 marks, is a quadratic formula question. And you know that because it actually says to give your answer to 2 decimal places. So with that in mind, I will give some extra guidance on this. The first thing you need to do on a topic like this is write down the quadratic formula, and this is something you have to memorise. So if you don't know it already, you need to learn it, and it goes like this. The answer x is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now that's a formula you need to memorise. In order to use it, you need the values of a, b and c, and they come from looking at the question. A is the number of x squareds in the question. There are 3 of them. B is the number of x's in the question, in this case minus 1. And C is the constant, the number on its own. It's actually minus 1 as well. The final hint I'll give on this is that you need to substitute those numbers into the quadratic equation that I wrote down earlier. You do need to show some working out on this, despite the fact it's a calculator question, so show several lines of working out before using your calculator to actually write down the 2 answers. You get one answer from the positive square root, or you get a different answer from the negative square root part of your calculator working out. That's it, on to the next question. Now this is a question about composite functions. The function g of f of x can be written like this: g of whatever f of x gives you. Now that means that you work from the inside out on these questions. That means you need to do f of x first, and the answer to that is the input to the g of x function. So basically we've got some number going in, and it goes into the f function. Whatever comes out of that goes into the g function, and whatever comes out of that is your answer. And actually in this question you've been asked to show that when 1 goes in, minus 19 comes out. When 1 goes in at this end, minus 19 will come out at that end. You'll be using these 2 function definitions, f of x and g of x, in order to show that. And it does say show in the question here. So it's up to you to make sure you show enough working out to actually convince the examiner that you understand the topic properly. On to the next question, question 3. Now this is an algebraic fractions question. You've got to simplify them to make one fraction. When adding fractions you use common denominators, and that's true with algebra or with numbers. So for example, if I said x over 2 plus x plus 1 over 5, if I was to simplify that, I'd be working with a common denominator of 10, because 10 is the lowest common multiple of 2 and 5. Now, in order to actually finish that calculation off, I would need to think, how does this 2 here turn into this 10 here? Now that happens by multiplying by 5. So I need to multiply the top and bottom of that fraction by 5. So I've done that. The same is true of this fraction here. I need to think, how have I turned the denominator of 5 into a denominator of 10? And I've done that by doubling. So I'm going to double both the numerator and the denominator. Now the denominator is 10, I've already doubled that, but to double the numerator I need to include some brackets here, like that. The final part of this question I'm going to leave up to you, but I will give the hint that you don't have your denominators together, that's a 10, and it's up to you to expand and simplify and collect the numerator and tidy that up. That's how you do a similar question, so that's an example 1. Apply that technique to the actual question and you should be able to get the right answer. Moving on to the next question. This question is relatively simple, just look out for that minus sign there, and also when solving on part B, if you're going to expand these brackets here, do that first and then solve the resulting linear equation. Question 5 does require a probability tree. I'm going to draw the basic tree for you. That's the first throw of the dice, and then you've got the second throw of the dice here. Remember that any pair of probabilities that you write down, for example, the fractions that go here and here, make a pair that add up to a whole one. The same would be true of the fractions that go here and here. They must add up to make a whole one. So when you are filling out the fractions on your tree, make sure that you stick to that rule. Once the tree is drawn, to answer part B, you need to think about which route you would follow on that tree. It could be, for example, going down there and then up there. Or it might be that you go straight up there. Wherever you do go to answer the question, you would collect the fractions along the way and multiply them together in order to answer the question. And that's because it says the word and there. What's the chance of something happening and something else happening? When that's in a question, you always multiply. That's it for this homework. If you are still stuck after this hint video, come and see me for help, and I will talk you through some examples, and hopefully you'll get a good score on your homework. Thanks.